There we go. Shrink, shrink, and shrink. And then we'll go down to the text object underneath it and make that stretch to fill. We'll make that centered, and then put in some text. And then everybody's gonna have to hold on for 1 second because now my wife is calling. I got to see what's going on. Let's see. Let's call her back and see what's up. Oh, we're on Bluetooth. Okay, she can't come into the phone. All right. Well, let's continue on then. So we'll center this back out, centered here, and then I'm gonna move it away from the wall just a little bit. We'll take the canvas, hit W, pull it out a little bit, and then center this vertically as well. Where was that option? Right there. So that's nice and centered. And I've got my text here. I'm gonna set this to auto size so that it gets bigger, and then crank the max up to maybe like 144. And then let's see if I can change the font. Do I want to change it? Yeah, let's choose one that has like an outline. So now if I go to my game view and I see, yeah, a big 5 there, I think that will look relatively good. So I'm going to call this canvas. Here, let's F2. F2. I'll call this door or call left door. And then I'll duplicate that. And let's move one over here to the right door. I think right about here. We'll move it out just a little bit, fix that rotation again. So I'll just zero it. And I'm thinking, what, 270? Wait, it was 270, not 170. And then a 0 there should be good. Gives me a big 5 there. So I've got a number there and a number there. And right if this game view is like full screen, if we hit maximize on play, it should get relatively big. Although we're going to zoom in right away and it's going to kind of disappear. You're
Hello,
not going to see it.
Commander. Thanks for coming to help us. We need you to send the knights to their castle.
Actually, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change these V cams. I'm going to start it with the one that's zoomed in, and then we're going to go to the one that zoomed out. So we start with number 2. Or let's just rearrange them. We'll hold for 2 seconds, and then we're going to ease. We'll just do an ease in out over 2 seconds to the other cam. Let's try that. I think that would
Hello,
be.
Commander. Thanks for coming to help us. We need you to send the knights to their castle.
There we go. That makes more sense. Instead of zooming in, and we'll just zoom out so that they get context. Start really close, give them a little bit of encouragement, and then zoom out to show them the board and where they need to go. So here's what we'll do. I think we'll start with maybe I'll do like a team marches in of like blue knights, and we gotta fill in or choose the correct door for that number of knights. That'll be the first thing to do. So let's go into our scripts. All right, let's do this. So what do I want to do for the first one? I think it'll be. Ooh, let's see. So this is going to be the interesting part. What's going to be the first little bit of code here that we write? Uh-oh, do I have to put on slow mode? Sorry, everybody. When this happens, but there we go. Easy enough. I can't read chat, but if people are spamming it, then they're just going to irritate people. So just put it into slow mode. Anyway, all right. So what's our first code going to be? It's definitely not going to be new behavior script. I guess, is it going to be a knight? Because I'm going to have knights that are going to move. They're going to kind of appear. In fact, maybe I'll just make them appear first. It's going to be a door. Let's delete this script. Or here, we'll just go into it. Or get Ryder to open it. Okay, trust and open it, Ryder. Open it in a new window, and we should get our new behavior script. We'll rename it, and we're going to start with 2 doors. Make it so you can click on a door. The door could be the right one, the wrong one, I don't know. But we'll just make it so doors are clickable, and then we'll go from there. Kind of figure out the next step. So our knights invade the castle window. Oh, it opened up, but it didn't open up very well. Go into my scripts folder and my new behavior script. I'm going to rename this. Let's see if I can get this into the window correctly. Control RR. Let's call this door. Or I'm going to call it castle door. I'm going to be pretty explicit about what it is. That should have renamed my file. It looks like it did. And I'm going to zoom this in a bit so everybody can see just a closer view of the actual code and what we're writing. So for a castle door, I guess the first thing I want to do is have a number. I want to be able to set a number for the door and then make that show up on the text. So I'll add a serialized field for the text here. So it's the TMP underscore text, and I'll just call this door text. It's just like that UI element that's going to be over the door. Um, I want a method to set a value, so I'll make a public void set and an int with a value or size. Let's call it like a castle size. This is like the number of knights that it can hold, right? And then all we really do is say door text dot set text to our castle size to string. That's really all we're doing, right? Phone vibrate again. Make sure that everything's good. Hold on, everybody. All right, everybody. I've got a mini emergency and I've got to run and pick this up, I guess, a little bit later. Um, Nothing terrible, just totally my fault and mistake. So I gotta wrap this up real quick. We'll be back later and we'll finish this whole thing off. That's a shame everybody's here. So make sure that you like, subscribe, share, hit the watch later button, and we'll kick this thing right back off where we were. All right, hello out there, everybody. Hopefully, you're excited and ready to get to this. Today, we're going to go through the process of building a multiplayer networked game. If you've been interested in building networked multiplayer games and just kind of never really had an idea how to get started, this should be kind of perfect for you. I'm going to go through the process of taking a single or a simple multiplayer game that's local multiplayer that you can read all the source for, and there's really not that much. And we'll go through making it multiplayer using Mirror. So if you've never used Mirror before, don't worry. I'm very new to it as well. It's going to be kind of a learning process for both of us, but we should be pretty streamlined in getting this all set up. Building a multiplayer game is not too complicated if you've done it a bunch of times and the things are simple. It just gets much more complicated as they get bigger or when you're converting a project later on. So here we're just going to start with a project that's very early on. I'm going to show you the process of just going through that conversion. But if you haven't seen the previous streams, by the way, and you don't know what the code looks like, don't worry. I'm going to run through all of the past code first. We'll talk about it real quick. It'll take like 5 minutes. Go through how the project works, how you run around with 2 players using PlayStation controllers, and then how we convert that into networked multiplayer. Before we get started, though, if you don't mind just sharing the stream or maybe just hitting the like button or subscribing and sharing, whatever you can do really helps. I appreciate it. If you can just go out and like post it on whatever your favorite sharing thing is, that'd be awesome. But I guess yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. So I guess what was there anything else I wanted to ask? Oh yeah, I was really curious. Before we get going, how many of you have already seen the previous streams? Can you just put in like yes or no on whether or not you've seen it? I just kind of want to get an idea of the number of people so I know how deep to go into the past code. It's not going to take very long, like I said, but it'll be I just getting some context there and how many people have actually seen this stuff. So let me switch over to desktop mode while everybody answers that and start showing what we're going to be building, what we're building upon, and what we're going to turn into a multiplayer game. You might have seen in the thumbnail, got a laptop sitting right next to me to do multiplayer development on, so we can kind of connect to it over the network once we've got it working locally. So, little shooter game. I got my controller. I can move around a character. I got the red guy as player 1, I believe. And I can move and I can aim with the other thumbstick. So here you see the thumbstick spins him, and I move around using the left thumb. The right thumb is aim, left thumb moves him. The second controller normally moves that character, but I've reconnected the second controller over to my laptop so I can do network testing instead. And we're going to get rid of kind of having a second player locally to go for networked multiplayer anyway, so I didn't want to go back to it. But ideally, you get the idea that this would move around the other player and this one moves around the red player, and we just go around and blow up enemies. Actually, I have all the enemies turned off, so if I go over here and turn on one of my spawners to see some bad guys start to show up, let's see. And then you see that I've got robots here, and I blow up the robots. I get points. They explode. And again, I'm going to show you what that code looks like in just a second. We also have a score system here, keeping track of this player's score. And then we've got a high score in the middle that you can tell I kind of left my guy sitting there shooting straight at bots forever. But if I hit that button, it'll reset the high score. And then whenever we get a new high score, it should just become the high score. There we go. And that's our new high score. That saves off into player prefs. Let's jump really quickly into how the code works right now, and then we'll dive into implementing or importing mirror and, well, turning it into a networked game instead. So the current version of the code has only a couple of scripts. You can see here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scripts, it looks like. Yeah. Not very many, and they're all very, very small. They're not complicated at all. If we look at like the bomb script here. Actually, which one should I go through first? Let's look at the I'm going to look at the enemy script first. So the enemies just walk towards the player, right? They're very simple. I'm going to open up the script, take a look at it, and then we'll look at the player because I feel the enemy is simple, super simple. Player's a little bit more complicated. So we'll start with a very easy one. So actually in here in Visual Studio, if you expand out the Solution Explorer here, one of the very few times that I like to do this when I'm trying to go through and look at all of the code. It's very rare that I need to do this and use the Solution Explorer with the Unity project, but here it's nice to see all of my code. So let's look at the enemy here. So the enemy is just a simple mono behavior, just a standard script like we would normally have. That's going to change. It's got a prefab for when it gets hit. That's just the particle system. An explosion prefab for when it dies, some health, a score value that we can adjust for giving them, more and more points based on how difficult the enemies are. Then in on enable, we're caching an audio source and resetting our current health. We just cache the audio source here because we didn't have an awake and there's no point in adding it. So we just reset the health right here in on enable. And then in update, we look for the first player that we can find. It's very, very simple. It's not doing anything complex. It looks for the first player and then it sets its destination of its nav mesh agent to that player. So it'll find any player that's active in the scene. If there are two, it's going to always find that same player. So the one player is going to be in trouble, but whatever. We don't have to worry about randomizing it right now. And then we just get our nav mesh agent, set our destination to it. So this makes it just essentially follow a player. Now we probably should cache this or something, but that's not the point of this. We're going to multiplayer network stuff instead. A couple other things it does. It takes damage at a point. The reason it takes a point in there is so that we can spawn a particle. You see here we instantiate a particle. And then here we play an audio source. When we get hit, check to see if we are below 0 health or at 0. Blow up. We'll play an explosion particle, turn ourselves off, and then tell the score system to add some points. The only other thing that we do is check to see if we've run into a player. Here in on collision enter, if we've run into a player, we reload scene 0. So that's the kind of thing that we're going to need to maybe change when we do this conversion, because we don't want it to just load scenes randomly. We got to do something a little bit different there, or something a little bit more intelligent, or maybe just disable that for now. I don't know. Let's look at the player now. So the player moves around by just reading the two axes, the horizontal and vertical axes. I'm going to just scroll through the code